We received some very interesting news over the weekend. Donald Trump's latest former national security advisor is in negotiation to testify in Donald Trump's impeachment inquiry. And if he does, this is testimony that could completely blow up Donald Trump. Bolton, to be clear, is a disgusting neocon war hawk from the era of George W. Bush. He was regularly at odds with Donald Trump during his tenure as national security advisor, but he may indeed be just a major player in exposing how bad the corruption is under Donald Trump. Bolton's lawyers, and of course, everyone associated with Donald Trump, seems to end up needing lawyers, even Trump's own lawyers making attorneys get attorneys, the alternate interpretation for MAGA. Bolton's lawyers say they're talking to the committees that are involved in the impeachment inquiry and that John Bolton may indeed be deposed. It is alleged that during Bolton's time as national security advisor, he would regularly criticize Rudy Giuliani for Rudy's efforts to dig up dirt on Biden, and he would call them drug deals. He would call what Rudy Giuliani was doing drug deals. He would encourage staffers at the NSA to report this stuff to administration lawyers. It's unclear if those reports ever actually took place. So far, it's been mostly not very well-known diplomats who have been testifying as part of this impeachment inquiry. But this would very quickly change if John Bolton were to testify. And it is really important to remember that truly horrible people like John Bolton can be useful in a fight against Donald Trump's corruption and self-enrichment and peddling influence for his own benefit. Bolton is disgusting. I mean, this was one of the architects of the Iraq War. Bolton represents the worst of the neoconservative impulses of the last several decades of American foreign policy. But listen, if he's useful, then have him testify. Why not? There are people hoping that this will be an open door testimony, but it wouldn't be. The part of this is actually about preventing witnesses from coordinating their stories. And if these testimonies were were public, you could have a witness come in and say something, and then you could have other witnesses hear that and then go in and tell the same or a very similar story to make it seem as though everything is on the up and up. So that's not the way that it's going to happen. The really interesting thing here is that the instincts that are natural to John Bolton, for which we are disgusted by him, right? I mean, his bloodthirsty take, no prisoners, reactionary nature, that may be what ultimately leads him to show up and to take down Donald Trump. Bolton, in the end, is total pond scum. I mean, the guy's a complete bloodthirsty bottom feeder, but he will do what he sees as patriotic. And it just might be like we might just happen to overlap in that he will see denouncing and exposing what Donald Trump has done as the patriotic thing to do. His values are counter to most of our values in my audience, would be my guess. But they might overlap in that we all think Donald Trump should be held accountable. We all think, hopefully John Bolton does, we all believe that there should be consequences to actions taken by presidents of the United States. And in fact, it actually sort of stunningly shows us how bad things have gotten, that in the Trump administration's current and former staffers, someone as antithetical to my values and to what I believe are American values as John Bolton might end up being a sort of de facto good guy. And I use that term. I mean, it's like painful to use it about Bolton, but he may end up serving the role of a good guy in this particular very narrow set of circumstances by showing up and just telling the truth about what he saw. And to be clear, he's not a good guy. He may play one in this fiasco involving the Donald Trump administration. Of course, I'll keep you posted on the latest news about John Bolton's testimony. We also are there. There's a bigger list of people. Again, listen, I mean, we've been talking about, in the end, if Democrats don't enforce subpoenas, this is all just BS. That's the reality. There are higher level people that have had documents subpoenaed and who may be subpoenaed personally to testify. We'll get into it if and when it looks like they actually might. Otherwise, the story I'm going to have to keep telling you is that spineless Democrats refuse to actually attempt to enforce the subpoenas. Now, every time I say that, people email me and say, David, come on. You know, it is not ultimately up to Democrats whether the subpoenas are enforced. Trump controls this, that, and the other thing. And are you really going to see the sergeant at arms of the House go and hold people in contempt? I'm not there yet. All I'm saying is, let's at least see Democrats try to enforce the subpoenas. And then if they try and are stonewalled, then we'll deal with that. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But a priori saying it doesn't matter if Democrats try to enforce them because it's not going to be, it's not going to be Nancy Pelosi personally going and slapping the cuffs on anyone. What depends is whether the systems in place will do it. Let's see the Democrats try first and then see how far we get. Today's program brought to you in part by Blinkist.com/Pakman. Blinkist is a great service that I use all the time. What they do is they take thousands of the most popular nonfiction books, including the newest bestsellers. They condense them into 15-minute audiobooks that you can listen to, and you still get the most crucial information and insights from each book. And I've listened to a ton of books on Blinkist. I recently checked out Soccernomics by Simon Cooper. We do have, after all, the World Cup going on recently. We also have been talking about BS Jobs, and there is a great new book, BS Jobs by David Graeber, which I listen to on Blinkist. They're constantly adding new books to the platform. You will never run out of fascinating and critically acclaimed books to enjoy. And our audience can get a 7-day free trial by going to Blinkist.com/Pakman. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm putting a link in the video description. And after the free trial, if you like it, you can continue enjoying thousands of condensed audiobooks for about $5 a month. That's BLINKIST.com/PAKMAN.